The worst video game, so 100%. And no, it's not Pokemon.
Number 10, Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Assassin's Creed Valhalla
has never been all that fun to 100%, but it seems that, for whatever reason, it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse with every new entry. Probably because the games themselves just keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger, which
too big,
us to the
in my
newest
opinion.
installment, Assassin's Creed Valhalla. It has all of the same fixings as other Assassin's Creed games, bloated out to a ridiculous size, but
it's really true. This is the problem with Assassin's Creed games nowadays, is they are like way too big. They have taken the phrase quantity over quality and taken it to its logical conclusion, which is just spaff it full of completely irrelevant objectives that nobody cares about, and just so you can fill things on a map.
In fact, in total, there are 782 collectibles throughout the whole game, and with
782! Who needs that many?
To explore, it can be a lot to handle, to say the least. However, it was even worse when the game first launched because there were 2 collectibles that were just completely missable. That's right.
Worst game to 100% because you can't even do it.
You could, at the very end of the game, collect 780 out of these 782 different things, and then find out that you would never ever be able to get the other 2 without restarting the whole thing. Now, if this was me, I would quite literally erupt like a tiny little hairy volcano. This
Delicious.
Was such a bad problem, in fact, that the developers had to patch the game in order for people to be able to actually collect those.
It's weird because they actually support the Assassin's Creed games really well. There's a ton of DLC for them. There's a ton of support for them. There's a ton of updates and stuff like that. It's like free DLC. But why do they pack it full of so much boring stuff? The game's not fun to play because you spend like most of it just running around from objective to objective to objective, doing the same objective over and over and over again so I can kill the same people with the same mid-combat system.
Number 9, Batman Arkham Knight. Oh, the Riddler trophies.
What?
Those
Really?
Genius, fantastic, absolutely awful Riddler trophies. Having Riddler's involvement in the Arkham series be connected to the collectibles of the games was initially a great idea. But after the first title, the devs went absolutely stone cold berserk when it came to adding in all manner of them. This is most apparent in Arkham Knight, the last title of the Arkham series, for now at least. With a wide open...
What did this? Did that detective just punch Batman? He's brave.
To explore, and with a giant focus on the Batmobile, the people at Rocksteady decided to take the opportunity to fill the map up completely with these little riddles, with a good chunk of them being locked behind obtuse puzzles that you almost certainly needed a guide to get. With trouble.
Oh no, I'm not a fan of those. I mean, listen, if you're a fan of puzzles or you're a fan of that kind of stuff, then that's fine. The puzzles that they put in this game, if they're so convoluted and silly that you have to look it up online, that's when you know you made a bad puzzle. There's a ton of that in a ton of games all over the place, and it's super aggravating every time I come across it. That it's so stupid and obscure that you would never figure out what to do in this situation unless you had the internet to look it up. That's bad game design.
Dependent on certain gadgets that aren't mandatory for the main story, the Batmobile needed to be used in a million different ways that may not even make sense. And
how has the Joker got tanks, by the way?
Guarantee that they will be the absolute last thing you do in the game, and will guarantee to give you a migraine. The worst kicker though,
Jesus
well,
Christ.
that the secret ending that you get after you 100% the game as a reward absolutely blows and barely even makes sense.
Yeah, if you're gonna pack it full of completionist stuff, then you have to give a good spicy payoff when you actually complete it, or else there's no point.
Red Dead Redemption 2. Red Dead Redemption 2 is one of the greatest games of its generation.
Yeah, Red Dead Redemption 2 is awesome, but I never want to replay that in my life. The fact that there's animations for literally everything where he's like, pick up a cup, and he's like, oh, pick up a cup? Wow, look at this cup. Wow, this is a cup? Yup, this definitely is a cup.
Tale of a gang of outlaws slowly coming undone thanks to their
annoying.
crimes catching up to them and the rising madness of their leader. However, it can be a very, very hard title to 100%. Why? Because it's so freaking big, like capital B big.
And
like
so
that
slow.
Movie where he plays the piano with his feet big. The map of the Wild West is dense and vast, and it's incredibly easy
but it's
to
so
miss a
pretty.
giant chunk of what Red Dead 2 has to offer because of that. You can pass by side missions without ever knowing they were there, or you can be introduced to collectibles that you'll never even see again. I mean, seriously, how do you find those dinosaur bones without a guide? The game, of course.
But seriously, there's so many good parts about this game as well. It's cool. You could just be like riding through the woods and there'll be some guy that's doing something. You stop and like, hey there, partner, you need help doing whatever you're doing. He's like, why, yes, I need you to shoot a bear. And you're like, well, I can shoot a bear. I'm a bear shooter.
To know this, and is a little bit lenient with its requirements to get 100%, but even with that, it can be impossible to find all of the cigarette cards you need, hunt down all of the legendary animals, to catch the legendary fish, and to find the collectibles tied to side missions. And that's not...
If you guys have ever completed the games on this list, you have to let me know. And also, how long did it take you to do that? I mean, like 100% completion, not the main story, like getting everything, doing everything.
Even mentioning all of the combat challenges and stuff. So if you want to be a real Legend of the West, just know you're going to have to earn it. Number 7, Returnal.
I've not seen anything about this game. People really liked this game when it came out though, so I want to know what exactly is so ludicrous about it.
It was a personal favorite of mine. Well, the very first roguelike to properly get me into roguelikes, but the procedurally generated nature of its level layouts, weapon drops, and yes, collectible drops made it a nightmare to 100%, and not in the kind of
What is the best roguelike game? Is it Hades?
2 collectibles that were particularly difficult to find the final entries of.
I've been playing Slay the Spire, that one's awesome.
Glyphs. While the bulk of these naturally do show up in your playthrough, others existed in
This is a really pretty game. Is that a house?
At release, the actual
and an alien planet?
Dropping was ridiculously small. Like, seriously, I must have played that first area literally hundreds of times before the one I needed actually spawned, though the devs did drop patches that apparently alleviated.
I just got conked out. You just got absolutely decked.
It can absolutely taint an otherwise flawless experience. Number 6, Ghosts and Goblins.
No shot. No one is completing this. Absolutely 0% chance. Ghosts and Goblins is insanely hard. It is ridiculous.
List. And not only will it be on there, but it'll be high up the rank. Well, starring Sir Arthur as he fights his way through these supernatural terrors haunting his kingdom. This title is absolutely tough as nails, unforgiving, and just downright punishing, more than living up.
It's like Ninja Gaiden on crack to the extreme.
With crazy enemy placement, death in 2 hits, and very little room for
2 hits, by the way?
Hitting Ghosts and Goblins at all is a crazy accomplishment, and it will take a lot of dead monsters, a lot of broken sets of armor, and a lot of luck in order
I love how retro games are on this though. That's awesome.
To complete the game, you actually have to beat it twice. That's because after getting to the end the first time around, you then transported all the way back to the beginning, and now you have to go through everything again on an even harder difficulty to see the true ending. Yep.
That's the reward for beating the game, is you get put back at the start and they make the game harder. And they're like, yeah, what are you gonna do about it, huh? You gonna play it again? You're gonna lose now, aren't you?
Thinking, well, I'll probably just look it up on YouTube. You are absolutely right. That is definitely what you should do. Number 5.
That's a nightmare.
The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild.
Breath of the Wild, baby!
Absolutely nailed the joy of the open world genre, like,
who wants to find some Korok seeds? What? Nobody?
The Legend of Zelda Breath
it's crazy.
of the Wild did. Anything you saw, you could interact with, any direction you went to, there was something there. The world was your oyster. And because of that, it was a completionist's nightmare. The problem with having a game stuffed to the gills with content is that you need to explore all of it to see everything.
That's why I've been kind of leaning towards the smaller games recently. And when there's like a big open world game like that, I'm kind of like, there's a little too much. There's a little too much running from one place to another. There's a little too much little ditty things that the game wants me to do that I don't really care about that. So with Scarlet and Violet, I hope it's not like that. I hope it isn't like, oh, you can do all these tiny little baby things like the Diglets on the Isle of Armor. There's gonna be a lot of that, isn't there? I hope not.
Missions, shrines, pieces of content that you would never naturally see if you weren't digging through every inch of the map. This game had it all. And then
this is Scarlet and Violet's gonna be on this list when it comes out, by the way.
Everything holy. There were those damn Korok seeds.
Yeah, what's that, 900?
Were everywhere, with a grand total of 900 of them hidden in the game. 900
Why?
of them.
It's not necessary. You don't need 900.
The developers knew how incredibly dumb getting all of them would be, and that's why if you did collect them all, you would receive a gift of friendship from the person who tasked you with it in the first place. And that gift of friendship is literally just a piece of poop. It's a piece of poop. That's that.
Okay, I've never actually played Breath of the Wild. You get shit for that? 900 Korok seeds and you get a pile of shit? What?
There you get 900 of them, sorted, done, boom.
If I didn't know that and I actually genuinely played that, I would throw myself out a window. I would do Sudoku on myself. I would game end out in Minecraft.
Cool. Love this. I'm gonna shut this game
It's not
off and
worth
throw
it.
my Switch into the sea. Number 4,
Friendship
Dead
is not
Space
worth it.
2. Dying
Dead Space
is
2?
a certainty
What?
in Dead Space 2. With hero Isaac's fight for survival against the necromorphs, you are bound to get torn apart in
I love Dead
incredibly
Space 2.
gruesome fashion by the horrific monsters more times than you can count. This certainty of dying in the game then is why it's so hard to get a 100% completion, because it also has the challenge of all
You have to do
challenges
Iron
waiting
Man.
for those that want to get every single achievement. The
Yup.
hard to the core achievement sounds simple enough on paper, just beat the story on hardcore mode. Simple, piece of piss, right? Well, no, not when you find out what it entails, because it gets much, much more complicated. See, hardcore mode is of course the hardest difficulty available, with fewer supplies and more deadly and aggressive enemies. What makes it an absolute pain in the arse though is that you only get a grand total of 3 saves for the entirety of the game, with
You can only save 3 times. Imagine being on the second save and just being like, oh, I don't know what to use my last save. You saved like 4 hours before the end of the game and you have to replay that 4 hours, even though it's on like super insane extreme difficulty. I would pull my eyes out.
0
Pun intended.
checkpoints otherwise.
It's not
This
a
means
pun.
that if you die, you can lose a literal
Because in the game, there's a machine that pulls your eyes out, so that,
hours
you
of
know what I mean.
progress depending on when you last saved. Crash Bandicoot 4, it's about time.
Crash Bandicoot! I watch a YouTuber called Kid Icarus who loves Crash Bandicoot, and he raged about
Years
this.
of
Absolutely
silence
raged
from
about it. It was
orange
fantastic.
marsupial, Crash finally returned in a brand new adventure a few years ago.
You're telling me there's
ready to
3 dimensions in
continue
this
where he
Crash
left
game?
off by platforming, spinning, and smashing his way through level after level as he
I'm to
jumped
Aku Aku.
through the time stream. However, the developers at Toys for Bob went a little too crazy when it came to one aspect of this Crash game, and that, of course, is the collecting. See, the previous Crash entries were well known
It is a
for their
collecting
enticing
game.
challenge to get one completion, smashing every box and collecting every time trial in order to see the true ending and unlock the secret levels. Crash 4, however,
that could get a
took
bit
that and bumped it
ridiculous.
way past 11 and all the way to like 1 million. And that is not hyperbole. This time around, you had 6 gems per level collect. VHS tapes
6 gems? Come on, man. There's usually 1.
that required you to not die at all before you got to them per level, some of the hardest time trials in the history of the series per level, perfect relics that required you to master every level, and you had to do all of this, except the tapes, twice, thanks to the inverted levels. This was a whole lot of capital C.
Oh, that's right. The backwards levels. You play them backwards, so you have to do everything. That's
And as a
ridiculous.
result, it can take you
Developers,
more
what
than
you
50
on?
hours to do it all, and that, in my opinion, was a terrible.
They're on
decision in an
Heisenberg's
otherwise
heroin.
platformer, and that's mostly because I couldn't hack it myself. Dark
Heroin?
Souls
What do you
has
mean?
nothing
Meth,
on
right.
this. Number 2, the Stanley Parable. The Stanley Parable is one of the best indie games ever, and one of the best experiences
I thought standing parable's easy. You just have to stand in a closet until the game
you
ends.
can possibly have with any
Easy.
video game ever, really. It's an absolutely hilarious yet insightful look at the nature of games, with the title giving you control of Stanley as the narrator reacts to everything you do. It can be
He reacts to everything? Am I the narrator?
incredibly hard to know if you've even gotten every
That's a lot of
ending.
buttons.
But even putting that aside, it's not an easy game to 100% despite its length. And that's because by design, the game is terrible for achievement hunting. The original game had
I think there's an achievement that's like you have to wait 10 years after you first start the game and then play it again.
achievement called Unachievable. That was literally impossible to unlock.
And also the achievement called Unachievable.
Nothing you could do to actually earn it in the game, and the only way for you to get it was to go into the Stanley Parables files and hack it so it would appear. On top of that, there was an achievement called Go Outside, which required you to not boot the game up for 5 whole years.
There it is. Okay, it's not as bad as I said, but still, you don't put the game up for 5 years and then you get the achievement.
This
I love
achievement
that.
was
That's
actually
awesome.
modified for the new Ultra Deluxe version of the game, which cranked this bad boy up to 10. So yeah, this is a fantastic game.
I was right. It is 10 on the new deluxe edition. I was right.
Everyone should experience. Just please don't try to 100% it. Number 1, Rock Band 2.
Oh no, this sounds so difficult. I've seen some people play Rock Band on like Nightmare difficulty and things like that. You have to ace every single
days
song.
where Rock Band and Guitar Hero were at the top was some of the most simple fun a gamer could have. Getting a
It is crazy that we don't see any games like this anymore. There was a time where there was so many games like this and everyone was playing them and then they immediately fell off completely L+ ratio.
buddies around, a few plastic accessories, and just jamming out together was always a great great time, and Green Day Rock Band in particular will live in my heart forever, even though it wasn't that good. But despite this joy, there was a part of Rock Band 2
I was never good at these games.
Suffering. A part that erased any memories of your fun times and made you wonder why you even bought the damn game in the first place. This part, of course, is the appropriately named Bladder of Steel achievement.
Bladder
You
of
earned this
Steel?
achievement by going through the entirety of the Endless Setlist. You had to go through every song without failing, and you had to do the entire thing without pausing, which meant you had to do it
Oh
all
my God.
in one sitting. And how long
my
would
God.
that take, I hear you ask? Well, over 6 hours of rocking out. So yeah, getting this achievement
6 hours of no failing with no pausing? That's impossible. There's no
not
way.
easy in the slightest, and if you messed up one song or accidentally paused, you'd have to restart the entire process again, so
They allow you to pause? That's so messed up. They should just disable the button if you accidentally press the pause button 5 hours in. That's a genuine nightmare. Okay, I'm gonna be honest. I can't think of anything worse than that. Let me know if you can think of a game worse than that to 100% in the comments. Make sure you subscribe to more patterrz. I'll see you guys later. Bye.